So, stand for the pledge, please. We have a nice volume on our PA system tonight, I can see. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's a little bit too, that's okay.
I feel like we're in a submarine.
Yes. I just started, so the master's up just a pinch.
I didn't touch it.
Okay, I'd like to call this meeting of the Town of Plattsburgh Town Board to order for September 2nd at 7:03 p.m. Roll call, please.
Bernie Bassett.
Here.
Thomas Wood.
Here.
Martin Mannix.
Here.
Michael Cash.
Here.
Roy Renadette.
Here.
James Coffey.
Here.
And Rick Howard.
Resolution number 282, approving the minutes of the previous meeting.
Resolved that the minutes of August 18th and August 25th, 2014 be approved and the reading of the minutes be dispensed.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Mann, second.
Second.
Mr. Renadette. Any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Michael Cash.
Yes.
Roy Renadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution passes. Resolution 283, abstract.
Resolved that the abstract of audit of claims number 98-14, 1566 through 1635 for $275,763.77, and abstract 9A-14, 311 through 331 prepays in the amount of $496,895.49 be received after reviewed by the audit committee and the supervisors hereby authorized to take said abstract.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Cashew, second. Mr. Renadette. Any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Michael Cash.
Yes.
Roy Renadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, the resolution carries. Resolution 284, salt purchase order for 2014-15. I don't have my spares with me.
Here, I needed
I never got one.
I needed that.
Resolved to receive and place on file a letter dated August 25th, 2014 from James Wood, Highway Superintendent, requesting permission to purchase 2,050 tons of highway road salt to be used by the Town of Plattsburgh Highway Department pursuant to New York State Office of General Services Standard and Purchase Group Contract in the amount of $151,392.50. And it be further resolved that the town board does hereby grant permission to Mr. Woods to order said salt, and the supervisor is hereby authorized to sign any and all related documents required to its purchase. And it be further resolved that said payment for purchase be made from the 2014-2015 highway budget account. And it be further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager and highway superintendent.
Motion. Mr. Cashew, second.
Second.
Mr. Wood, any discussion?
Now, I'd like to just note that in the letter, he says increase in price is $13.79 per ton. That's nearly 20%. So when we're talking about a budget going up and we can put it up less than 2.9%, the cost of salt just for our roads has gone up 20%.
Our cap is just a little over 1% for this budget.
This year, yeah.
Which in our multi-million-dollar budget, because one of the big reasons we don't have a town tax, a town levy, and our levies have tended to be very low by comparison, that allows us ballpark, please, I'm estimating, approximately $80,000 to add to a multi-million, $15 million budget, came by tires for that. It's a little bit of a problem. He's very concerned not only with the cost, but you don't want to come up short road salt. Winters are a little tough to predict. Last winter, we had a lot of ice, as I'm sure you remember, so, was that an anomaly? Is it a trend? He also noted if funding becomes available, we can purchase at that contract rate 20% beyond. So we have that 20 in there as long as the funding's there. Also, if it becomes needed, even if it doesn't become needed, if you could afford to buy the salt now, the odds are pretty good next year it won't be less expensive, and it won't. We can use it. So.
It's a high rate of inflation.
It's terrible.
Figure that out.
And I don't know the numbers exactly. Sometimes I roll them forward. This was just too frustrating how much it's gone up each year. And this is one of the shared services with the county that leverages the larger volume to try and procure a better price for us. And we believe that does happen. So, yeah, it's frustrating. Mother Nature can be very, very costly. And any other comments? Thank you for bringing that up, Tom. Roll call.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Martin Manick?
Yes.
Michael Campbell?
Yes.
Troy Renadek?
Yes.
Ernie Bach?
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 285, RFP for IT, computers, and computer services.
Whereas periodically it is enforcement of inconsistent contracts and agreement, and it is good business practice to solicit quotes and obtain the maximum value for the services. Whereas the town is required to solicit quotes for consulting services that exceed $10,000 on an annual basis per the town's procurement policy. Now therefore be resolved that the town board does hereby authorize the supervisor to solicit and receive proposals for IT computer services for the fiscal year and make available to the vendors the attached RFP for said services. And it be further resolved that the town clerk have a notice of the RFP for the IT and computer support services placed in the local print media outlets, posted on the town clerk's bulletin board and posted on the town's website.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renadek, second.
Second.
Mr. Cashman, any discussion?
Yes, with this, is this sufficient time? Is this going out immediately, or I see we have October 8th as the date, and it can't be, anything can't be accepted after that, according to this. Is that going to be sufficient time for people to come up with their...
We feel it is, Tom. This is a little different than a bid process, and we'll certainly make notice as indicated. We think that there are so few vendors, we really believe they can respond to this sufficiently so we can go through the RFPs. And as we did a few years ago, we will invite them to meet with the board in a work session. And you'll have another opportunity to meet them and ask questions.
Tom, one of the things, Jerry and I had looked at this a little while back and working with Pat. I reached out to the chamber to get a sense for what types of businesses would be around the region. And Christy Kennedy was good to put us in contact. The name is escaping me at the moment, but her associate, and just guided us to a couple of links to drop off. And I'm pretty confident that we can get this out if we do so in a timely fashion and get a response that will be very beneficial to us. This is something that's an ongoing need for us to get a better grasp of. I think we need to get better services, but I'm very mindful of the cost that it will.
Yeah. I totally agree with you in terms of that.
But that's why I think the
all I'm
time
concerned about is that if we don't get it out in a timely enough manner, and then we end up coming back here, then we might have to say no to, then we have to start the process all over. So I want to make sure they have an adequate amount of time to get their proposals
The RFP's done, it could be in somebody's hands tomorrow.
But that's why I'm saying, Tom, because we did a little bit of that legwork on the back end, and Pat, took a look at some of the businesses out there. I think that the launch can happen.
Well, I just want to make sure there's enough time.
If it's approved tonight, it takes 3 days and it'll be in the press.
Some time ago, Tom, we explored IT services. It takes about a week or two for somebody to come up with an idea of what they are willing to charge. They basically need to see our hardware, take a look at the number of stations we have, and they can plug in the numbers and have it. We also need to act on this as quickly as possible because moving towards budget time. This is something that's going to have to be budgeted, so we want to have it for the beginning of October.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
George Grimsley.
Yes.
Martin Manick.
Yes.
Michael Con.
Yes.
Ernie Bell.
Yes, the resolution carries. Resolution 286, the appointment of Robert Miller to the Finance Committee.
Whereas the town board passed resolution 14-183 authorizing the formation of a finance committee to improve accountability and controls over finance and accounts and to play an advisory role to the town supervisor, town board, and finance manager. Whereas Mr. Robert Miller, a resident of the town who possesses the skills and experience with finance and financial system, is willing to serve as a member of the finance committee. Now therefore be resolved that the town of Plattsburgh Town Board does hereby appoint Mr. Miller to the finance committee for a term to expire December 31st, 2017, effective immediately. And be further resolved that Mr. Miller take the oath of office within 30 days of this resolution, and the supervisor send a letter of appointment and appreciation to Mr. Miller. And it be further resolved that a certified copy of this resolution be given to Mr. Miller and to the finance manager.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Mannix, second.
Second.
Mr. Wood, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Manick,
Yes.
Michael Con.
Yes.
George Grimsley.
Yes.
Ernie Bell.
Yes, the resolution carries. Resolution 287, appointment of Phil Von Bargen to the position of senior planner.
Whereas Phil Von Bargen began working full-time in the planning department as a planning engineer and assistant on January 14th, 1994. Whereas the duties of the position have changed significantly during Mr. Von Bargen's tenure in the town of Plattsburgh Planning Department. Whereas it is necessary that civil service duties be appropriately matched to the titles that reflect the duties and responsibilities. And after review by the County Department of Personnel, it has been determined that the appropriate title for those duties to be that of senior planner. Now therefore be resolved that Mr. Von Bargen be reclassified and promoted to the position of senior planner. And it be further resolved that the town of Plattsburgh Town Board does hereby authorize the provisional promotion pending successful completion of the senior planner examination of Phil Von Bargen to the position of senior planner with a pay rate increase of $1,092.80 annually, prorated for the remainder of 2014, effective the first pay period following final civil service approval. And it be further resolved, the supervisor is hereby authorized to sign any and all necessary documents for the full-time provisional promotion of Mr. Von Bargen to the promotion of senior planner. And it be further resolved that a certified copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager, Clinton County Department of Personnel for final approval and filing.
Have a motion. Mr. Wood, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix, any discussion?
Yes, just for the record, I was hoping that we could avoid both this resolution and the other one until the end of the year. Finances being what they were, you know, it's not a lot of money, but when you add up a little bit of money on several scales, it then becomes a lot of money. I don't want this to be misconstrued that either Mr. Von Bargen or Mr. Cole aren't worth it. They are worth it. They're very valuable employees. However, I was hoping that this could have waited until 2015. Unfortunately, circumstances have arrived, and there's, in my estimation, there's no avoiding it. This is something we have to do. So while I would have liked to avoid it, I am in favor of this, and I want to just go on record as saying that I wish we could have avoided this.
And I would echo the comments similarly.
But I agree with those comments in particular regarding the budgetary constraints. I also feel that, you know, we made a pledge to employees that there were not going to be any increases, and effectively, because of the fact that we have to give title increases, we have to put a pay increase along with that title change, and that's awkward. And I'm sure there will be some people who will, you know, be upset by that, and it's unfortunate. But again, we're in a position where we have to abide by the findings of civil service, and that's just that's the law we live by, so.
And prorated, I don't have an exact number, we're probably talking $200 or $300 for the balance of this year. But again, it's a principle, and I totally agree. One of my concerns in talking to civil service wasn't so much that we were ordered to make the change. We could not have these employees continue to do duties that they had begun to do. As a result of that, you would have had to have, at the rate of a couple $100 an hour or so, plans being reviewed by an engineer. Probably would have had to have another planner, projects would have backed up. And that really became apparent at a point last year when Mr. Bombardi was out of his office for a period of time, that we really, it was a lot of hard work, but there wasn't a hiccup that was noticeable because Mr. Cole was able to perform those duties. The fact that he was able to was one thing, the fact that we were needing him to do it, we either had to stop or we had to go through something like this. You know, I too, and I've shared with other employees that you really need to understand this to know why it's happening. We didn't have many choices, and none of them were better than this fiscally. It would have been much more disastrous. But we've had, if these titles existed, and the titles that are being vacated will remain unfilled. Earlier this year, within the union, we had an employee who was a valued employee, and there was an opening, which was an advancement for him, and we promoted him to that opening, and he received the pay that was commensurate with the title. The big difference is these titles didn't pre-exist, but they should. I agree with everyone, but we didn't have a lot of choices, and as I said, none that would have been very costly. And it's been in the works for quite some time. We almost made it to the end of the year, but didn't quite make it. Any other discussion?
You know, I feel that these things needed to be done, that this 0% that we imposed this year, we took a cut, and the 0% was for the basic pay of everyone, and that this is something different, and it's something that should be done morally and because of the law, and that we should be doing this, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of these particular positions. So I don't have any of the qualms that the rest of you might have about doing it too soon, or the fact that they're taking these positions.
The other thing that'd be worth noting, I just thought of it, it's generic to both, I guess. There was a third proposal, but upon some further clarity with civil service, the duties of that position are not changed as a result of deferring any promotion or change in title, so that one will not be included because it doesn't cause a change in operations. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Mannix,
Yes.
Michael
Yes.
Capson, George Bernadette.
Yes.
Artie Brown.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 288, appointment of Trevor Cole to the position of planner.
Whereas Trevor Cole began working full-time in the planning department as a planning technician on September 6, 2011. Whereas the duties of the position have changed significantly during Mr. Cole's tenure in the planning department. Whereas it is civil service that service duties be appropriately matched to the titles that reflect the duties and responsibilities. And after review by the Clinton County Department of Personnel, it is determined that the appropriate title for those duties have been determined to that be of the planner. And therefore it be resolved that Mr. Trevor Cole be reclassified and promoted to the position of planner. And it be further resolved that the town board is hereby authorized for provisional promotion pending successful completion of the planning examination of Trevor Cole to the position of planner with a rate increase of 50 cents per hour for the remainder of the 2014 year, effective on the first full pay period following final civil service approval. And it be further resolved, the supervisor hereby authorized to sign any and all necessary documents for the full-time provisional promotion of Mr. Trevor Cole to the position of planner. And it be further resolved that a certified copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager, planning department head, and Clinton County Department of Personnel for final approval and forward.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Wood, second.
Second.
Mr. Brennan. Any discussion?
Is one supposed to go municipality?
Usually, when we give it to the finance manager, that
Oh.
is what he does with it. Any other discussion? Other than Dale? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Mannix,
Yes.
Michael Cashman.
Yes.
Gerard Ritter.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes, resolution carried. Resolution 289, Clinton County Oil Train Regional Task Force.
Whereas many citizens in the town of Plattsburgh and other municipalities in Clinton County are concerned about the recent activity by the fossil fuel industry to transport Bakken and tar sands crude via rail throughout our region. Whereas refineries in Albany have expanded to accommodate an even greater volume of these potentially dangerous products. And whereas New York State Governor Andrew Cuomo passed an executive order 125 directing New York State agencies to conduct a comprehensive review of crude oil transport safety procedures and emergency response preparedness, and Albany County issued a memorandum of crude increase at the Port of Albany pending a public health investigation. Whereas it has been a dramatic increase in rail crude transport in the town of Plattsburgh and along the Adirondack coast, and more crude oil was spilled in U.S. rail accidents in 2013 than the preceding 4 decades, amounting to more than 1.15 million gallons in 2013, including July 2013 incident where 72 tanker cars loaded with 2 million gallons of flammable crude oil derailed in Natick, Canada, causing explosion and killing 47 people, destroying dozens of buildings, and causing over $1 billion in damages. Whereas the National Transportation Safety Board and the Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration have made recommendations to avoid urban areas when transporting crude and improve rail safety regulations for crude oil transport, including worst scenario emergency response plans. Whereas extensive train loads of this material routinely travels through the city of Plattsburgh and densely populated area in our region. Whereas crude oil, like that coming from the Vulcan Shale Reserve, is also highly volatile, flammable, and contains elevated contaminants of benzene, a potential carcinogenic. Therefore, we resolve that the town board, town of Plattsburgh, supports the effort to organize a regional oil train task force to address these issues and provide accurate information and recommendations to local officials, property owners, and residents. And it be further resolved that a copy of this resolution in support be given to Miss Rachel Armstrong, a local organizer of the Oil Task Force and the City of Plattsburgh Council, acknowledging the town of Plattsburgh's support and willingness to participate in the process and identify a representative of our town to serve on the task force.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Cashman, second.
Second.
Mr. Wood, discussion.
Yeah.
There was a revised copy, Rick, that
Yeah,
apparently
and-
when I passed them out, the table didn't get to you. Tom, do you want to read what those changes are? Because that will be the one we'll pass.
Yes, in the section, the 6th, whereas extensive train loads of this material routinely travel through the city of Plattsburgh, a densely populated area in our region, as well as the town of Plattsburgh. And this next one, whereas crude oil like that coming from the Bakken Shale Reservoir is known to be volatile, highly flammable, and contains elevated concentrations of benzene, a potent carcinogen, and the extraction, waste produced, and burning of this oil has an adverse impact on our climate. The rest of it would be correct. I would note that on the third whereas, Albany County issued a moratorium on crude increases. It's a moratorium in that particular thing, and just because I think it should be Rochelle Armstrong.
Yes, for sure.
There's
Any other discussion?
I just want to bring this back to one of the reasons that I'm really passionate about seeing that we take a stance and we start to create a partnership within the region is several weeks ago, and I know Marty hit upon this, that he was witness to somebody over near the bridge, the train bridge over near Cliff Haven. But several weeks ago, I was out there chatting with some residents, and they're very concerned. I mean, and that's just a small piece of our community. And I think it was just a couple of years ago that the state of New York identified a number of bridges that, were well under the satisfactory level for safety. So as it is going through our communities, as it is going along the Arrowneck coast, it could be in the city, it could be in the town, or it could be just beyond our borders, but the impact is going to be huge. So, I see us as having to support this and hoping to have, one or two members of the council, and there's also a number of community members here too, that I think we can identify to get behind this.
The other thing I would add, this problem isn't theoretical.
No.
I mean, not like in 25 years
No.
this killed 47 people, did $1 billion worth of
Yeah.
damage. I mean, these trains go right, maybe within 50 feet of homes.
Yeah.
So,
Like Mike was saying, the Cliff Haven bridge that he was talking about, I've driven that area for a long time, and the bridge, to my knowledge, has never had anything done to it. I don't even know if a coat of paint ever been put on it, and it's very, very close to a large community, large development. So it would be the Canadian disaster all over again, right there in that community.
Not to mention that they're supposed to be such distance away from schools.
Sure.
That many of the schools along the whole route and just in our county are within the I'm not sure it's 100 yard radius or whatever, and they're within that to one of these tracks.
And derailments are not uncommon, not every day. It's not like, this could never, no.
Well, you compound the issue with the number of tankers that are on the train, then you take in the weather conditions, you take in the bridges. I mean, there are so many factors that could have a disaster occurring in the community.
The biggest problem is, in my opinion, it's a total disregard of safety. They know those oil tanks, those tanker cars are too thin, that they pierce very easily. I watched one of these trains, I was in Willsboro, looking across the bay where you literally can see the trains come down and watch. And you're just struck by how long that train is. I mean, it's nothing. I mean, we've not seen trains, that length. We've not seen that many cars. And then to realize that the cars just are not, they're not safe. These cars, if they derail, they're gonna, if one car's gonna crash into the other car and they're gonna pierce that car and they're gonna cause an explosion. And then it's compounded by the fact that they have multiple types of product on that train. It isn't a train that's all one product. So you've got chemical cars that are traveling on the same train that the oil cars are traveling on.
What did I recently learned, speaking with my friend the mayor, they are looking to increase the speed at which they travel through the city.
Yeah.
I mean, everything you're saying,
Yeah.
and now we even want to be able to go faster. That ought to work.
It's all in the name.
It's ridiculous.
It's all in the name of profit. It really is, and it's they.
Hopefully,
But the burning of the fossil fuel in the end is going to also cause more problems with the climate. And this is another total disregard
So you would say the addiction on the fossil fuel becomes the root cause of,
Plus
most of this-
extraction takes more energy than.
Most of
it's
this
not
is
free.
going away, Tom. Most of this is being exported.
Wherever it's burned,
That's where
it
it's-
increases the problem with climate.
well, hopefully this group will be empowered. Hopefully, my recommendation to them has been, we need to see the same thing happen in other counties. There needs to be a coalition. It's a very small beginning, but the other thing we talked earlier is we're coming up just a little short this evening from identifying an individual or individuals, but I know both Mr. Mannix and Mr. Wood have indicated their willingness to formally represent the board, and we've discussed a couple other community member names. We just really need to contact them first. It may be good to have someone from the community and formally someone from the board participate. So we can continue to work on that once we get more information on the structure of this group and how they're going to function.
I would make just one correction or one addition to this. In the fourth whereas, the fourth sentence down, it says, well, actually, preceding 4 decades amounting to more than 1.15 million gallons in 2013. And then I think it should read, in addition to the July 13th, 2017, 2 million gallons.
In 2013, in addition to the July 2013.
Yeah, because that 2 million
Okay.
gallons wasn't included. That's
Tom,
not-
you made the motion, or excuse me, Mike, you made the motion, and
I'll
you're okay with
accept
that? Tom, obviously, you support that. You don't have any other concerns with that change? If not, we'll amend it that way. And Ricky, I'll get the other revision before this revision to you as well.
You saying in the fourth whereas?
Okay.
Yeah.
Third line.
See, this is what it says. Fourth line. But in addition,
Fourth.
it's 70 tank is 2 million gallons. That 2 million is not included in the 1.5. That's an additional amount that was in that one instance.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Mark Manning,
Yes.
Michael Passion,
Yes.
George Renson.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, the resolution carries. That is the last item I have on the agenda this evening. There's still some talk of storms and rain, and things coming through tonight, so maybe get everybody else home safe.
Watch this started when I.
With that said, I entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Renner, second on that? Mr. Cash, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Mark Manning,
Yes.
Michael Passion,
Yes.
George Renson, Bernie Bassett.
Yes, we'll stand adjourned at 7:35.
Thank you for pointing that.